Darkwing Duck Shadow of Vengeance is a fanfiction written with deep love and respect for the Disney Afternoon universe, especially the world of Darkwing Duck and its connected series. This story stands as both a continuation and a reimagining, honoring the legacy of the original series while taking the tone, stakes, and characters into new territory. This narrative also connects to the broader universe of DuckTales, Tailspin, Goof Troop, and Rescue Rangers, weaving together these worlds in a time of crisis and shared legacy. While darker in tone and modern in scope, this remains a love letter to the timeless spirit of these characters, heroes and rogues alike, who, when faced with the impossible, still rise. No profit is intended from this work. This is a tribute, for the fans, for the creators, and for the kid in all of us who once dreamed of capes, shadows, and daring to fight back. Brian Diaz. Drake Mallard stood at the edge of the grave, the autumn wind tugging at his coat, swirling burnt orange leaves around his boots like restless spirits disturbed from slumber. The sky hung heavy above him, overcast and unfeeling, casting a cold silver sheen over the cemetery. Before him stood a headstone, polished, precise, and unforgiving. Its surface caught the dull light like a blade, a monument as cruel in its permanence as the void it represented. Gosalyn Mallard, 1999 to 2023. Brilliant, fierce, beloved. The words were etched deep into the stone, but they lived even deeper in his heart, carved there like wounds that refused to close. His knees buckled beneath the weight of grief, and he dropped down into the cold, damp soil, the fabric of his slacks absorbing the moisture without protest. His gloved hand reached forward, trembling as it brushed across her name, his fingertips tracing each letter as though sheer longing could summon her back. The name wasn't just her identity, it was his anchor, his reason. His breath caught a sudden stab of memory. There had been signs, a shadow across her usual route to campus, a van parked too long near the house 2 nights before the attack, a faint, cold dread in his bones that he had pushed aside, rationalized as old reflexes he no longer needed. He had dismissed the warnings, had chosen to believe in peace, in the life they had built, and now, his breath came shallow, caught somewhere between mourning and disbelief. The autumn air, sharp with the scent of earth and decay, filled his lungs like glass. His voice, when it came, cracked and small, barely more than a whisper. "I promised you, Ghost." The wind carried the words away before they could fully form. He swallowed hard. "I told you the mask was gone, that the danger was over, that I'd keep you safe." His voice broke completely. But I couldn't. A single tear slipped down his cheek and vanished into the soil like a vow too late spoken. He reached into his coat pocket and drew out a small, worn bracelet. Blue yarn, faded and frayed, its once bright fibers dulled by time and touch. It was clumsily braided, the kind of craft only a child could make, stitched with more love than skill. She had given it to him on his last birthday. It had lived in the corner of his drawer ever since, until now. He clutched it in both hands, cradling it like a relic, like a memory too precious to release. His eyes shut tightly, and the past came rushing back. The Mallard household glowed with the gentle rhythm of domestic peace. No alarms, no crime waves, just the quiet rituals of normal life. Drake stood in the kitchen, whistling tunelessly as he cooked. The sizzle of eggs in the skillet and the smell of toasting bread filled the air like a symphony of contentment. Sunlight spilled through the windows in warm columns, casting golden slats across the tiled floor. He was no longer Darkwing Duck. He was just Dad. Gosalyn, now in her early 20s, burst in through the hallway. Her red hair was a bit messier these days, wild and free the way she liked it, and she wore a rumpled university hoodie bearing the fading logo of St. Canard University. One hand adjusted the strap of her bag, the other stuffed a breakfast bar into her mouth with effortless multitasking. "You're going to be late," Drake muttered without turning from the stove.
"Relax, old man. I've got 5 whole minutes," she said, smirking as she brushed a few crumbs off the counter. Her tone was playful, familiar, tinged with that effortless sarcasm she had mastered by age 10. "If I'm late, I'll just blame you for holding me hostage with your mediocre breakfast."
Drake gasped in mock offense, flipping a slice of toast with exaggerated flourish. "Mediocre? This toast is a culinary masterpiece. They should hang it in a museum." She laughed, a rich, genuine sound that echoed off the walls and settled in his chest like sunlight. It caught him off guard, how grown she looked now, How the laughter still reminded him of her at 8 years old, yet her eyes carried the knowing weight of someone who'd glimpsed shadows of the world.
"You've been watching the news again," she teased more softly, leaning briefly against the counter, eyes meeting his. "You never stopped watching the shadows, Dad. You just stopped chasing them."
His smile faltered for half a beat, then returned. Some shadows are better left alone.
"Maybe." A flicker of sadness crossed her face, gone in a blink. Then she grabbed her bag. "I'll be back after class," she called, halfway out the door. "We still on for movie night?"
"Wouldn't miss it," he replied, a smile creeping across his face. She opened the door. The light of the morning silhouetted her as she turned back one last time, her eyes sparkling with mischief and life. That was the last time he saw her alive. He would never forget the call. It came on a gray afternoon, the kind that pressed down on the world like a lid. The phone rang once, twice, and when he answered, something in the tone of the officer's voice cleaved through his heart before the words even came. "Mr. Mallard, we're so sorry. There's been an incident." The drive to the morgue was a haze. The cityscape outside the window had passed like shadows behind glass, meaningless and distant. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that the leather had torn beneath his gloves. No voice, no thought, only a raw, pulsing dread that pounded louder than the engine. Then, the room, cold, clinical, walls too white, floors too clean for what they held inside. "You don't have to do this, sir," the attendant had offered gently. But he had shaken his head. He had to. He had to be the one. He had to be sure. And then, the sheet. They pulled it back. And the world ended. It wasn't the bruises that destroyed him, it wasn't the stillness of her chest or the fragile bend of her fingers. It was her eyes, closed forever, the laughter gone, the light gone, the endless mischief and fire gone. He had dropped to his knees, a sound tearing from his throat, a sound not meant for the living. A howl of grief that echoed through the sterile room like a shattering bell. "No, please, no." He had whispered it again and again, as if repetition could rewind time, but time was deaf. He remembered clutching her limp hand, ice cold and small in his grip, pressing it to his lips as the tears came in torrents. The bracelet, he had thought of it then, the one in his drawer, the one she had made him. "I'm so sorry." They had found him there an hour later, still on the floor, whispering her name. The graveyard stood still, wrapped in silence broken only by the whispering wind. Drake rose slowly, each movement deliberate, as though fighting the gravity of the moment. The bracelet hung loosely in his fingers. With reverence, he slipped it over his wrist. It clung there, not as a shackle but as a tether to the only thing that had ever truly mattered, and that's when the realization hit him. This wasn't random, this wasn't a tragic accident. They had come for her, to hurt him. The fiendish Organization for World Larceny, FOWL, had claimed his daughter not in a fit of blind chaos, not as unintended collateral damage, but with precise cruelty. It was a message, a lesson, a punishment for the man who once made them tremble, and he hadn't seen it coming. He had been too far removed from that life, too soft, too comfortable, too human. His breath caught in his throat, the pain in his chest deepened, not grief now, but guilt. "They came for me," he whispered, voice hoarse and bitter. "They took her because I walked away, because I thought I could have a normal life." His hands balled into fists, his shoulders tightened beneath the weight of everything he had tried to forget. "I promised you," he rasped, barely holding the words together, "that the mask was gone, that I would never let that world touch you again." He stood in the biting wind, long coat flaring behind him like a cape forgotten. His silhouette stretched long over the marble stones. "But I can't stay retired, not anymore." The pain in his voice hardened into something else, resolve. His breath came deeper now, stronger, controlled. "I swear to you, Gosalyn, I will make them pay for what they've done." As he turned from the grave, the world seemed to shift with him. The leaves no longer danced, they scattered as if fleeing from something that had just awakened. Drake Mallard walked away from his daughter's grave, but what left that cemetery was Darkwing Duck. The sky over St. Canard was slate gray, the kind of cold, hollow daylight that carried no warmth. Drake Mallard, no, Darkwing Duck, stood before a rusted maintenance hatch beneath the arched underbelly of the city's northernmost suspension bridge. Moss crept along the concrete edges. The place hadn't seen life in years. He entered the old code, 4 digits, Gosalyn's birthday, and the door hissed open with a metallic groan. Inside, the lair was a tomb. Dust coated every surface. Cobwebs laced the ceiling like hanging shrouds. Old tech sat lifeless on metal tables, gas guns, grappling pistols, smoke bombs. Some prototypes hadn't even worked back then. He stood in the silence, letting the air sting his lungs, then exhaled slowly. Playtime's over. Within minutes, the lights flickered to life. The generator rumbled awake like a beast long asleep. Screens blinked on, systems booted. The shadow grid flickered on the main monitor, mapping St. Canard's crime networks from outdated surveillance nodes. Obsolete, he muttered. All of it. Darkwing pulled a crate from a hidden wall panel, revealing components Gosalyn had once helped him stash. A portable fusion cell, tactical processors, an AI target calibration chip. Her handwriting marked each label. For a moment he froze. In the dusty silence an echo stirred, her voice bright with mischief.
Dad, this gear is practically ancient. You seriously gonna fight bad guys with that?
A hollow smile flickered. You'd be surprised, he'd answered back then. But he didn't look away, instead he got to work. Over the next hours he stripped down every weapon, every suit mod, every vehicle schematic. The gas gun, once used for sleep darts and concussive puffs, was reconfigured to fire charged bolts, capable of stunning or stopping a threat permanently. The grappling hook was upgraded to discharge high-voltage pulses. Smoke bombs were rebuilt to function as flashbangs or incendiaries depending on configuration. The suit's body armor was reinforced with reactive nanofiber mesh, capable of absorbing impact, deflecting blades, even resisting energy bursts. This wasn't about flash anymore. No smoke and mirrors, no dramatic entrances. It was about efficiency, survival, justice by any means necessary. By the time he stood before the cracked mirror in the corner of the hideout, the purple and black suit had changed too, leaner, heavier in places, lined with reinforced armor and internal comms. The cape now concealed not just flare but drones. The hat was embedded with an uplinked visor. The old mask felt tight, felt right. He looked himself in the eye, and for a breath her voice echoed again, soft, distant.
Don't let the mask wear you, Dad.
He straightened. I'm not here to scare them, he said coldly. I'm here to end them. He turned toward the console and uploaded the last known data from Fowl into the system. Red blips began to populate the map. You drew first blood, he muttered. Now I'm going to drown you in your own. The map glowed. The hunt had begun. St. Canard didn't sleep. Not anymore. The city glowed under a curtain of rain, neon reflections bleeding across puddled rooftops and shadow-drenched alleyways. Thunder rolled over the skyline like the growl of some ancient beast. Darkwing Duck stood perched atop the crumbling edge of an abandoned office building, his cape whipping behind him like a torn flag. The upgraded suit glinted under the lightning, no longer a symbol of flamboyance but of war. Below, a siren wailed like a wounded animal lost in the storm. Every light a potential lie, every shadow a weapon. He had crossed a line just by putting the mask back on. He could feel it in his bones. This wasn't hero work. This was something darker, something colder. Then a voice behind him, low, sincere, and heavy with sorrow.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Darkwing didn't turn. He didn't need to. I figured you'd show up eventually, he said flatly, eyes still locked on the street below. Go home, Launchpad. But the footsteps came closer. Rain spattered against a yellow slicker. A soaked red scarf clung to the shape of the only man stubborn enough to follow him this far.
I just couldn't stay away, Launchpad said quietly. She meant a lot to me too, you know? Ghost was like a daughter to me.
Darkwing's jaw clenched. The ache in his chest deepened. This isn't your fight! Launchpad stepped beside him, rain trickling down his face, matting the feathers at his neck.
That's where you're wrong, he said gently. This is exactly my fight. Because I loved her too. And because I know what you're planning to do.
Darkwing finally turned, eyes narrow behind the mask. You don't know anything.
I know you're not patching that suit for crowd control, Launchpad said, glancing at the reinforced gear. I know you're not tweaking that gas gun to knock anyone out. A pause. And I know. If I let you go it alone, you might not come back from what you're about to become.
The silence between them was deafening, filled only by the hiss of rain and distant sirens. Darkwing looked away, voice low. I'm not playing the hero this time, LP. I'm going to find them, and when I do, I'm going to make damn sure they can't hurt anyone else. Ever again.
I figured, Launchpad said softly. That's why I'm here.
What?
Because it's because of what you plan to do that I have to be here, Launchpad said, his voice now steady. Someone's got to make sure you don't go too far. Someone who won't let you become something Gosalyn wouldn't recognize.
Darkwing's shoulders slumped just slightly. She was the last thing keeping me from slipping.
Then let me be the next, Launchpad said. Let me help. Not because I think I can stop you, but because I don't want you to be alone when you find them. You shouldn't be alone in this.
For a long moment nothing moved, just the wind, the water, the weight of grief between two men who had loved the same girl like family. Finally, Darkwing spoke. This isn't going to be like last time. Launchpad nodded.
Good, because I'm not the same either.
The rain had slowed, but the air still hung heavy, thick with steam rising off the pavement. From the top of a crumbling tenement in South St. Canard, Darkwing Duck crouched like a gargoyle, peering into a nondescript alley behind a grimy warehouse. Below, a lone figure emerged from a side door, clutching a duffel bag and moving with practiced paranoia. Darkwing tapped his visor, his HUD flickering to life. Name Clive Ratch. Foul affiliation courier level, street division.
That's him, right? Clive something?
Ratch, small-time runner, mostly messages and microdrives, but someone gave him orders, and tonight he gives us names.
You know, back in the day you'd have had a pun or a smoke bomb by now.
Not tonight. He dropped silently from the rooftop, landing in the alley just as Clive struck a match. Before the flame touched the cigarette, a gloved hand slammed him into the brick wall. Jesus, what the? His eyes widened. The hat, the cape, the mask. No way. You're supposed to be gone? Surprise. Clive struggled. Darkwing twisted his wrist and the duffel dropped to the ground. He shoved Clive down, boot heavy on his chest.
DW, don't kill him.
He's lucky I'm not angrier. He knelt, pressing the barrel of his modified gas gun to Clive's temple. The weapon's light flicked from blue to red. You work for Foul. You moved something 3 nights ago. Unmarked van, North Pier, blacked out windows. Tell me what it was. I don't know, I swear, I just moved the bags, I don't ask questions. Wrong answer. He twisted a dial on the gun. It clicked ominously.
DW, he's a rat, not a boss. You start frying messengers, we lose the message.
Darkwing paused, finger hovering over the trigger. Rain dripped from the brim of his hat. Then he lowered the weapon, just slightly. Then talk, now. Or I swear what comes next will make you wish I had pulled the trigger. Okay. North Pier was a front. They were moving something big, tech, something glowing. Guards and visors, like military, not street thugs. Where did it go? I don't know. I handed the drop to a guy named Tesser. That's all, I swear. Darkwing stared into Clive's trembling eyes. Then he fired, a stun dart sinking into Clive's neck. The courier collapsed, twitching into unconsciousness.
Was that necessary?
He'll wake up with a headache and a story to tell. Let Foul know the game's changed. He opened the duffel. Tech components, encrypted drives, a Foul pass card, and something else. Tucked in a side pouch, a photo of a suited man marked Tesser, priority in red ink. The orphanage buzzed faintly under flickering lights. St. Canard Orphanage for Wayward Youths, halfway home, halfway prison. She wasn't supposed to matter, just another kid caught in a storm. His job was simple, rescue and deliver her to authorities. But that was before he saw her. 10, maybe 11, bruised, defiant, swinging a frying pan at a Foul agent when he arrived. Torn hoodie, bloody lip, still standing. Somewhere in the orphanage air hung the faint scent of burnt toast. Oddly comforting. Years later that same scent would drift from their kitchen on quiet mornings.
So you're the clown in purple they sent to save me?
I'm not a clown, I'm the terror that flaps in the night.
Cool. I'm the kid who just saved your ass.
And for the first time in years, he smiled. She was supposed to go into the system. He was supposed to walk away. Neither of them did. Darkwing stood still, hand resting on the strap of the duffel. His fingers brushed the soaked bracelet on his wrist. This city had taken her from him. Now it was going to give something back. The docks were too quiet. Shipping containers stood stacked like tombstones, shadows jagged beneath flickering floodlights.
Security's light, but something feels off, like they're waiting.
He moved through the shadows, efficient, silent. This wasn't street crime. The tech Clive had moved wasn't random. It was organized, strategic, dangerous. He reached the target container, marked faintly with a foul sigil under a fresh layer of paint. Inside, power cores, destabilized energy converters, something suspiciously close to a portable fusion drive, not smuggled, staged. Then,
DW, we've got movement, East End, 4 incoming.
4 figures emerged from the darkness, black combat armor, glowing red visors. He dropped a charge and dove just as it detonated in a blinding flash of blue-white light. The first enforcer hit the ground hard. The second took a stun dart mid-charge. He rolled behind a crate as plasma bolts zipped past. As he rolled behind a crate, her voice echoed sharp and clear in his mind. "Don't quit on me, Dad." He surged forward.
You always pick the best hangouts.
It was fast, brutal. Within minutes, the last enforcer stumbled backward, only to find a gas gun pressed to his face. No reply, just blood, fear. He pulled the trigger. The visor sparked as the enforcer dropped. The HUD on Darkwing's visor pinged, coordinates located, an abandoned robotics facility on the East End. They had a name, they had a target, and they were just getting started. Rain tapped in dull rhythms against the black glass roof of the Klangtech robotics facility, a squat, brutalist hulk tucked deep in the industrial belt south of St. Canard. From the shadows of a nearby warehouse, Darkwing Duck surveyed the compound through infrared lenses.
Crystal DW, schematics show 3 floors above ground, 2 sub-levels. You're heading into the old service entrance, north side, behind the coolant silos.
Darkwing's cape fluttered slightly as he moved, melting into the gloom. The entrance was unguarded, suspiciously so. He slipped inside. The interior was dim, lit only by the flicker of humming machinery. Rows of half-assembled drones hung from rails like mechanical corpses. Darkwing crept along catwalks, dispatching patrolling guards with clinical precision. Nerve strikes, garrote wires, shock darts.
Facilities working on high-efficiency assault drones. Heat signatures suggest the West Wing loading bay is active. Looks like they're prepping for mass shipment. Encrypted manifests. But there's a name, Tessa. He's running this show.
Darkwing scowled. The hallway leading to Tesser's control chamber was lined with cameras and pressure plates. Darkwing rolled, ducked, and dove, disabling systems with precision EMP pellets. Bodies of unconscious guards marked his path. The deeper he went, the fewer henchmen he encountered, as if the way had been cleared. He kicked in a heavy blast door. Inside, a lone figure turned slowly. Tesser, a wiry duck with cybernetic arms and glowing red optics. His voice buzzed like static. The door slammed shut behind him. Gas hissed from the vents. Static. The lights cut. Infrared vision flared. Tesser vanished into the dark. Autoguns popped from the walls. Darkwing dove behind cover, deploying smoke grenades. A blur. Tesser attacked with razor-sharp claws, mechanical precision, lethal speed, but Darkwing fought smarter. He baited Tesser into exposed conduits, blasted circuits with arc charges. A brutal dance in darkness. Tesser reeled. For a heartbeat, her face flickered in his mind, eyes bright, daring him forward. He surged toward the control panel. He slammed a charged baton into Tesser's chest. Tesser spasmed and collapsed. Cracks split the walls. The gas had begun corroding the supports. The entire wing was crumbling. Darkwing blasted the door and sprinted through the facility, alarms howling. He leapt from the roof as the west wing imploded in a fireball, the explosion painting the sky with flame. Silence, then static.
DW, you out? Darkwing, do you copy? Come on, buddy, answer me.
No response. A long pause. Then, through smoke and grit, coughing into his comms, he sounded like hell. But he was alive. On a rooftop across from the blast zone, Launchpad slumped against a vent unit, rain mixing with the tear sliding down his cheek. He exhaled, one hand gripping his headset.
Don't ever do that again, man.
Darkwing, panting, soot-streaked, stared at the flaming wreckage below, barely. Deep beneath an unassuming government building, behind retinal scanners and voice-locked vaults, the Council of Foul convened. A chamber of shadow and steel, lit only by floating holograms and streaming data. 5 cloaked figures sat at an obsidian table, silent titans of conspiracy. At the center, a projection replayed the burning ruin of Klangtech. A distorted voice broke the silence. None responded at first. The image of Darkwing Duck, cape torn, limping from the flames, flickered in ghostly light.
Gosalyn Mallard was his anchor. Without her, he's not a vigilante. He's a weapon.
A pause. Even these war-hardened minds stilled at the weight of it.
You're playing with fire. If he reaches the core, he won't. Not yet. Let him chase phantoms. Every fight bleeds him. Every truth breaks him. And when he's broken, he's ours.
They turned back to the feed. Darkwing, swallowed by smoke.
Initiate phase 2. Let him believe he's winning.
The chamber dimmed. One by one, holograms faded, leaving only red light and silence. Ramrod did not rise. He leaned back in his chair, bathed in sterile light. On a smaller monitor before him, footage played in reverse. Drake Mallard, crawling from the rubble, bloodied, burned, alive. He smiled, not triumph, satisfaction. Control.
I always wondered who the pest was under the mask. Then I looked closer. Too many anomalies. Disappearances, coincidences, the same damn duck behind both faces.
He tapped the screen with a gloved finger.
Drake Mallard, retired, reclusive, grieving father.
Leaning in, voice softer now.
And now, predictable.
The screen shifted, grainy footage of Darkwing's hideout, shadows moving, someone else. Ramrod's eyes narrowed.
So many secrets in that little sanctuary, and not all of them belong to him.
He leaned back again, chuckling quietly.
Pain makes good puppets. Let's see how long he keeps trusting the wrong one.
The lights dimmed fully, fade to black.